I just want to remind you that you're going to crush it today.
Yo, welcome back to the lab. I'm your host, Elias Benjaloon. Join me as we dive into the science behind the hustle of badass entrepreneurs working smarter, not just harder. In every experiment, we're going to dive in on business tactics and life lessons, enjoy some hip hop, and experience a moment of gratitude. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's win this digital revolution together. As always, we're going to kick things off with some dope music, so I'll see you in there. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hustle Science Experiment. Today, I'm joined in with Jeff Butler. He is the founder of Butler International. You've probably seen him on Forbes, a bunch of other magazines, and maybe have seen any of his talks. He's a public speaker delivering keynotes all around the world. Jeff, it's so great to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
No, super appreciate it, man. Happy to be here.
Awesome, man. So I'm excited to dive into the business tactic and life lesson of the day. But first, how about we kick things off and let us know, how did you get into entrepreneurship in the first place?
The interesting thing about entrepreneurship is that it existed before large corporations. So at one point, everyone had their own sole proprietor business. Maybe it's selling bread or selling oranges or doing some sort of commodity selling. So it's naturally within all of us. And it turns out that I grew up in a pretty interesting environment. Both of my parents are Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. So they, at a very young age, they were building companies. And I was like, after high school, I would go over there, work in a cubicle while all their employees were running around the office. And so being around building businesses started at a very young age. But when I was getting into college, I was studying computer science. I thought, look, I earned a lot of money with computer science. I like this avenue more. It's predictable revenue. I'm fine. 6 figures is great. But as soon as I graduated and I was working a 9-to-5 job, I looked over to next to me in the cubicle next to me, and there's a guy. He was a senior, a lead engineer, right?
Okay.
He was there for 15 years, as in the career space. I was there for about 3 weeks, right? If you don't include internships.
Yeah.
And I realized that he's being paid probably $70K more than I am. And I thought, if I'm there for 15 more years and get paid 70 more K, would I be happy with my life?
And that was a fuck no, right?
Yeah. And it was no. It's like, and also when you hear 6 figures and you say, wow, that's a lot of money. Dude, you apparently don't know what taxes are. Like it becomes to be very, very little. And like,
oh man.
So like my take home was like, 60% of that. Then I had rent, then I had student loan debt. And like the end money was like $2,000 a month, right? And $2,000 a month, this isn't like taking vacations or buying cars or saving money. It's like $2,000. I'm like, $2,000 earning 6 figures. I got gypped off here. This is a joke. So this is not fair. So I at that point, I realized that I want to be in control of my financial destiny and be able to build something that, if I want to buy a house or have a amount of financial abundance when I was younger, I could. So the way that changed was that at 23, I decided my first year of working full-time corporate, because I had internships before, but this is full-time, much different than it. I realized, okay, I need to build a company. And so at 23, I started building out this data science company that I started hiring employees. I'm like 23 years old, right? Like hiring people off of Upwork to handle certain parts of it. And I built this infrastructure and we started getting a few customers. So I decided, I was going to leave corporate, and eventually through bouncing around, I ended up in my company today. But that was the main moment, is when I found out I should be an entrepreneur. Is I looked over and I realized I wasn't happy with that direction or that path. And it's not bad. It's just, that was my expectation of financial security, wasn't just having $2K left over a month. I wanted something a little bit more sustainable, or like I could, if I get sued for some weird reason, like I'll be okay.
Right. Yeah. No, we want to have that like financial freedom, do whatever you want without having to wait 15 years and save a whole bunch and do whatever else you have to do. So I want to like talk about this real quickly. I've seen, so you've got like 7+ years of development experience, and then you launched your development company. What took you from the realm of like computer programming to public speaking?
Great question. So when I first left the company, when I saw that corporate company, I was running it was called H&E Data Provider. And basically what we did is we gathered data for commercial real estate. If someone wanted to know if there was in a flood zone, fire zone, or there's some sort of hazard on the property, we had that data and we sold that data. So that's what
Awesome.
we did. But I realized that I didn't want to do that. It was after like 18 months of it, I was like, look, am I really going to be looking at if there's a leaking underground storage container on the property? Like, wow, this is amazing. Like, oh, thrilled. So I said, you know what? I'm young. I don't like this is already earning money. I don't want to do this at this point. So I left the company. It was still running today, was recently acquired because of part of a parent company. And I went down my bucket list because I had no job, had a bunch of free time, and like number 9 or 7 was public speaking. And I decided to go into a Toastmasters meeting, and that basically is a public speaking group where you get like 5 to 15 people meet together and work on like public speaking talks. So before this though, I wasn't the person who gave the graduation speech or someone who even participated in class. In fact, I was that kid who no one knew their name. No one knew my name because I never said anything in class. I literally put my head against the wall and tune out because I didn't think I had anything valuable to say. And on top of that, my learning style was way different than a lot of students. So I didn't think I was that intelligent. Not saying I am right now. I'm just saying I didn't feel like I was intelligent
Yeah,
at the
yeah, no,
time.
and I mean, like, not to be so stereotypical, but like computer programming, engineering, science, like,
Yeah,
common, like a common theme is like the introverted nature of students in
very
those
introverted.
fields.
Very introverted. Yeah. So when I went to the Toastmasters meeting, there's this impromptu session where you get on stage, they ask you a random question for 1 minute, or for 1 to 2 minutes. I gave my answer. I don't remember anything what I said. I don't remember the question. I sat down. I said, I want to do this for the next 15 to 20 years of my life.
Awesome. You just got that like
Yeah, I
blast of
got that
energy.
later that day, sat home. I said, I want to be on TEDx. Put together a plan. 4 months later, I was on TEDx.
That's awesome.
Right. And it wasn't like this took off from there. Like it was bumpy because the topic I had, no one wanted to have me speak on it for a while. But eventually I was able to make a profitable business out of it. But that was the big shift where I was introverted. People would say introverted for most of my life. Like you put me in a cocktail party, I'm deathly afraid of that. Like I would walk in there. I don't know what to say. There's too many people. I would literally sit in the corner and read, like to this day still, right? But if
Okay.
I'm on stage, if someone's like, "Hey, I want to hear your perspective on this," I'll be more than happy to provide my input. But you would tell me, "Hey, stop that girl on the street and go pick her up," I'll be like, "Hell no! Like that's too
Right.
scary. And I'll just run away." Like terrifying. So yeah, there's still those introverted tendencies, but I think I found that area where it really resonated with my personality of research and being able to craft ideas.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing your entrepreneurial journey. Without further ado, let's just dive right into the business tactic of the day. Seeing the work that you're doing in your business, it sounds like you've got some really great systems in place to help you generate bookings for yourself, and based off our conversation earlier, now for other businesses and other entrepreneurs investing in their personal brands in that way. So how about you kick it off today? What's the business lesson of the day going to be?
Yeah, that would be the ability to create systems. And the way that works is when you're ever in a business, there's a point where you have to let go of what you're doing and have someone else do it for you.
Right.
When I was first starting out, I would be sending all the emails myself. I would be looking up on the websites, trying to find leads, doing a ton of outbound work, sometimes like cold calling some like 50 places a day. It was just this hardcore boom. And being introverted and very scared on that, I would like throw up before cold calls. It was a mess. So I was failing at that for a while, and I reached out to a friend and I said, "Hey, I saw that he had success there in terms of building systems. He set the record at MuleSoft. It's a software company that recently IPO'd.
Nice.
He was at outbound sales there, and he actually set the record while having a business that had 30 employees. That was an e-book empire where he had a fake name online, and he would have people write the books for him, put them online, and sell them through Amazon. So I saw he was able to do that. And he worked 10 hours at MuleSoft, set the record, and also had that. So he would then work out after work, and it was just like this whole playboy kind of thing. So I told him like, "Hey man, how do you outsource? Like, how do you get one person to do your task for you so then you can multiply yourself?
Right.
So we paired up. He says, okay, give me a percentage of your revenue. I'll show you how to do this. So we did. And we worked together for probably 18 months. And in that first year, we broke 6 figures. Now, for you to break 6 figures in the speaking space, being like absolutely no experience at it, is pretty incredible. And this is not like to toot my own horn, but it's more like I saw the numbers that we had to put up. There was no way if I did it by myself, I would be able to, because we had to contact a ton of people. We had to put a ton of leads in the database. We had to figure out the templates really fast because you have to get feedback all the time. So we adjusted everything, and he showed me how to build these processes. So essentially, I learned how to hire someone. Then the business tactic is basically being able to write out the documentation of a particular task and then hand it over to someone so that they can do it, right? And so we got a lot of our employees off of Upwork. And then once we had about a couple, we would say, hey, do you know anyone in your network who would be interested in this? We'll give you a referral fee. And so we ended up growing this culture, and I had like 2 sisters refer each other, and like really interesting family dynamics. And so now it's, there's 10 employees. We can easily expand further, but right now we're keeping it smaller before we start adding a lot more clients. And it's totally internal referral based. And we built a nice, strong culture, but it initially started, like the whole seed of it was me as an entrepreneur realizing how to take someone, write out some sort of steps of action, handing it off to them, and then once they've completed it, paying them. That's essentially the delegation process. If you can do that as an entrepreneur, you can double or triple your income if you have already a profitable business, because you'll learn how to let go of the more tedious tasks and then focus on those higher level tasks that can help grow the company.
Awesome, man. I love it. Yeah, going through this process of like setting up the right systems and delegating has been really important in my business too. Over the last over the last 6 months, we went from just the founding team to 8 people now. And that's just because of setting up the right systems. We use Asana and Slack and then Google Drive to host all of our documentation. What are some of the tools that you would recommend? And could you share a little bit about I guess like what are you using any tools like that as well?
Of course. Yeah. So I don't use Slack. We probably should soon. We use Google Hangouts at the moment, partly because we just have chat groups with one-on-one employees and stuff like that. But for statuses, we probably should. We use the whole G Suite, so Google Drive is part of that. For project management, we use Trello.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that a little bit more than Asana, probably because it's just easier to horizontally track. But Asana is pretty cool too. I've used it before when I was working as a software engineer. Any other tools?
Do you use like Loom? Are you doing like video tutorials as well?
Loom's great. That's amazing technology. And for our CRM, we use Streak. And Streak is an embedded Gmail service that we pay. I've actually met the founders when I was in, because I remember they were like had an awesome company, so I applied there. But I didn't have. I didn't work for them, but they're super cool guys. But yeah, use them. So we have like 14,000 leads in this circular CRM going through there, and it goes into Gmail, so it looks pretty. It's nice and compact. It's lightweight. So yeah, we're currently working those couple technologies.
Awesome, man. And like, I'm just curious about this. Like, do you have the VAs impersonate you, or do they represent themselves in your inbox? Like, what does that system look like?
They impersonate themselves. I don't have people handle my inbox. That's up to me. I don't want people touching that at this point. So they would actually reach out on their behalf.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I represent X, Y, and Z person. Do you want to jump on a call? Blah, 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 blah. Here's why you should. And they'll go from there. So yeah, the impersonating you is difficult because I've had someone on social media do that. And sometimes they'll misquote me, or I'll have like content writers write things on my behalf, and they'll write something that I totally would not. It's like one sentence out of a large blog article, and you take that one sentence that sounds very polarizing. I'm like, I would never say that. Yeah. But really, 90% of the content I would say. So it's very tricky if you have someone impersonate yourself.
Right. Yeah. Definitely something I'm navigating through myself with mostly like my LinkedIn marketing, and I have somebody in my inbox organizing that for me.
Well, LinkedIn, I've done that before. I think you can do that with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward because you have those easy templates. But if you have something that's more like complicated. Like content writing or like free response on email that doesn't have templates, it's a lot more tricky.
For sure. Yeah. I don't definitely let that happen. Like it was something I'm working on is like for like my documentations, like FAQs, even just within LinkedIn, like getting all these responses now. And it's like too much time for me to.
Yep. And here's the actual canned response. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, man. Any other notes you want to add in? So like we talked about systems, we talked about delegating, and, we didn't talk much about it, but like since you're using Streak CRM, I'm sure there's some automations in there, like managing the leads.
Somewhat. We have systems that they send group messages that are all templated that look pretty nice. We also have things that if someone doesn't reply, there's an automatic follow-up sequence, but I have enough people on outbound, so we don't have to use too much on the automation. And the higher quality that you have, the less you have to do the less you need to do automation because you can do the customized look.
Awesome, man. Sweet. Well, let's dive into the next section here, which is the moment of gratitude. We do this because, especially in our world of entrepreneurs, there's some of us that, look to the outside for that external validation or look at the things that we don't have. I'd say that's prevalent all around the world. It's not just entrepreneurs, but life is so much different and so much better when you start to be grateful for all the things that you already do have. And I like to practice that through practicing gratitude. That's why we do it in every single episode. So how about you kick us off here and share what you're feeling particularly grateful for today?
Yeah, particularly grateful is having my grandfather asked me to spend his last couple of years with him, even though I'm in my 20s. I've probably talked to him a total of 10 hours in my life before actually living with him. And him being a very successful entrepreneur, I never would have thought that I could actually have a relationship with him in my lifetime. And so I thank him for taking sort of the risk on me and saying, hey, can you come help me out at my house while he's getting older? So really thankful and grateful for him to reach out to me like that.
That's incredible. I love that. I'm curious, what does he think about the whole online entrepreneurship thing since the internet and the way it's changed business over the last decade?
Yeah, so he has really good entrepreneurship principles. He can text, he can call, he can go on YouTube and find videos. He gets it. He doesn't get it like he's not going to create some sort of like online video course, but he knows that he needs to change his way if he needs to stay relevant. So when he sees me online and I'm like talking with people all the time, he knows that's the form of work now versus like he did a lot of real estate. So instead of being outside working there, I'm like able to do more intellectual work through a laptop.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's pretty crazy, but yeah, the principles of entrepreneurship have stayed the same. They will continue to stay the same. And, one of those key principles is relationship building and talking to people, whether that's in person or online. To just share what I'm feeling grateful for every single time today. Feeling super grateful. I'm over here in Hawaii, beautiful island, Oahu. Yeah, definitely got a hardcore tan going on. Haven't been this tan since I was probably like 18. But out here with my wife's family, and got the sunrise. It just rose. I've been working pretty early today. Like got up at like 3:30 a.m. and been grinding it out 6:30 a.m. here. So I'm like every weekday I'm working pretty much from like 3 or 4 or 6 all the way till noon, and then I take the day off, and then I come back and I work a couple hours at night. So I'm loving the lifestyle and the vacation at the same time. So let's go into the next section, man, which is the life lesson. And this is really important. I love this segment because there are so many different lessons in life and different perspectives in the journey of entrepreneurship that we could get from each other. And we talk about so many different things here on the podcast that I think really, for everybody listening, just provide shortcuts and quick bridges to the next step in their life through these lessons. So how about you kick it off? What is the life lesson for today?
This is going to sound very generic, but I think the story behind it's not very generic. The answer itself is persistence. Now, that is the most common lesson you can have in entrepreneurship, but the actual application of it's way different. So let me expand a little further. If you ever go to my site, jeffjbutler.com, you will see like the brand itself looks really solid. What you don't know behind the scenes is that while my videos are good, while my background is relatively impressive, I get rejected about like 104 times out of 105 for speaking gigs.
That's wild.
I want you to wrap your head around that. Like 104 times, and like people look at my schedule and they see, man, you're booked all through this. This is only your second year speaking. Like, that's crazy. And like, you're doing these all paid. I'm like, yeah, like they're all paid and never all travel's covered. But if you look behind the scenes though, it's because of how many doors I'm knocking on, you actually get that output. And since I saw that in the very beginning, I said, okay, I need that more firepower to get up to that level. Because I know once you lay that foundation of persistence, right, that persistence starts to accumulate. So you then start speaking more, you get better at whatever you do, and then you start getting referrals, right, from all the outbound you're doing. Then you start getting those and collecting them as one or two. And I can't tell you how many big companies reached out to me and things just fell through last minute. Michelin, Sephora, Blue Cross recently, right? All the time. But there's some that came through, like Adobe. The point is that's that lesson right there, the persistence. People seem to quote unquote get it, but I'm like, are you willing to go through 104 no's with a good brand and still hang in there?
Right. Yeah.
That's something that I think really encompasses persistence, because even to this day, I'm like, dude, I either really suck or I'm either just super stubborn. Like it's like one of the two.
Right. And as you do this, that 104 out of 105 will come down 103, 100,
right.
90.
And it will get better and better over time. But it's like, are you willing to go through that period where you're just like, that number sounds crazy. It's like you actually connecting with 105 people on LinkedIn, and then only one says I want to be on your podcast, or one says, wants to sign with you for coaching. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, that's really this quantitatively putting it, like, do you have that level of persistence to do that? If you do, then great. I think you'll be okay.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I think persistence is the number one thing that entrepreneurs can have. And I think being able to swallow the no's and to keep going is super important and powerful. Yeah. And I feel like this happens too often with entrepreneurs, is that they take the no too personally, and then they let us slow them down, and then they don't put enough output to get to that next yes, when you do have to go through that 100+ no's before you get your first yes. And if you're fresh, if you're just starting, then it's even tougher, like you have
no reputation. One other thing too, I'd like to add to that. One of the biggest things when people ask about persistence is that they say, when should I abandon one, company that I'm starting and go with another idea, right? They have like that ultimate question.
Oh, right. That pivot.
Here's the weird thing about that. I never heard anyone address this way. You'll never know for sure. Because if you actually know for sure, you have to live two separate dimensions of reality. One where you go forward with it, one that you don't.
Yeah.
In order to see if it's successful. And I'm like, I hear the speaker say, well, this, and this, and they have this theory. I'm like, dude, you never would know. You never would know. And you always hear different stories, like people push through and like made it, but then you don't hear the countless others of people who didn't. So
for sure,
I would say if someone's going to do that, instead of asking some sort of guru when to quit, actually sitting down with themselves before anything starts and say, here's where the line is drawn for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, to add to that, I'm curious what your perspective is on this. I'd say, when you're starting your business, the way that I see it is, you got to figure out what your why is, what your mission is. And when you figure out what your why and your mission is, the what and the shouldn't matter as much. So you can be able to pivot your what and change your product, service, whatever else it's going to be, as long as it's in alignment with your greater why, then you should be good to go. And I think then it's okay to make those pivots within the what segment, but never make those pivots in the why section.
I don't know. I would debate with you on this and say, I think the why changes as you get older, because if you think of something like Maslow's hierarchy, you have these sort of things that you're trying to do. Like in the very beginning, you're just trying to feed yourself. Right? And you're just trying to survive if you're building a company. But then from there, what a lot happens with a lot of people is they get past that, but they had no greater why. So they get kind of stuck at a certain income level, like let's say 80K. And they say, I'm happy here, but they don't know why they're not going up further. But someone who's has a much deeper why might not be able to overcome the 80K boundary until they dig deeper. So the why actually changed as they go on the journey. So I do agree with you. And I think what you're going at is when you have sort of that vocation of like, I want to do entrepreneurship because, I want to take care of my family or have financial security, or I want to be able to fully realize who I am as a person. That sort of stands over time. But I think, and I've seen this a lot in terms of people who are like pretty successful when they go from like 100,000 to 7 figures, they change a lot in that process.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. I can see that. And I mean, like a lot of people, and I see this a lot. This is why I like talk about why so much is like, I see the motivating factor for becoming an entrepreneur being the paycheck. And I think like, if that's going to be your motivating factor, then you're not going to be cut out for entrepreneurship, because there might be like swaths of time that you just don't make a paycheck, so
yeah. I mean, if you look at financial security, like you're way better off working in a corporation, moving up that ladder in terms of like, because you get to save a lot more over time. There's a lot more predictability. You don't have to upgrade your skills nearly as much as an entrepreneur, and you don't have to worry about the company and everything. Like I have to worry about 10 people. If I don't perform, no one gets fucking food on the table. Sorry for swearing, but I'm like,
no, you're good. It's an explicit show. I would say that's like the crazy thing, right? Like you can't, is the responsibility of having to pay other people, right? That takes your whole game to a whole nother level, because you can't fuck up.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
All right. So, we've gone through all the sections. Is there anything else you want to add in?
Yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, you can always go to jeffjbutler.com. One thing we've been doing recently is actually building out systems for influencers, because from the systems I built, I had other influencers who had like, they're certified on social media, and they're like, hey, can you like get us booked as keynote speakers or outsource these things for us, because you've been able to do that. And I'm like, all right, sure. So we've been just starting to roll out on that. So if you have any questions about that process, feel free to reach out to me, jeff@jeffjbutler.com.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm just checking it out right now. It's a pretty dope website. Really good job on that.
Being a software engineer background, you kind of have to have a dope.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
The bar is pretty high for you.
Yeah. Awesome, Jeff. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.